Hey everybody, welcome back to Pro AV Today. I am your host, Ben Thomas. This year I had the opportunity to attend the NAMM show for the first time. If you're not familiar with that show, it's the National Association of Music Merchants. It's a show that really caters to primarily the music and pro audio side of our industry. But as a lifelong fan of music and musician, it's a show that has existed in my peripherals for a long time. I was really excited to get out there for the first time this year. I was really inspired by a lot of the conversations that were happening, not only by some of the folks who are more familiar to us in the traditional B2B community, but across all sorts of different channels. There were instrument manufacturers, there were microphone manufacturers, software providers, service providers, so many different people. And even though some of those folks don't typically live in the traditional B2B side of the world, it was inspiring to hear their conversations, specifically when it comes to things like end user feedback, sales channels, removing pain points and gathering feedback, things like that. And I wanted to have a conversation about that a little bit more on the show today. So I wanted to bring in somebody who has the opportunity really to live in both worlds, not only from just a pro audio and the integrator side of the world, but also from somebody who has great knowledge and depth of understanding in the retail side of the world, and that's through a lot of their different brands. And that is Adam Hall, specifically in this case, Adam Hall North America. So I'm joined today by Gabriel Medrano from Adam Hall North America. Gabriel, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. Thanks a lot for inviting me to this conversation, and really nice to meet you and at the NAMM show and then joining you here.
Well, absolutely. And I thought that you were a perfect fit for this conversation too. And I want to even say it out front. There might be folks that are listeners who might not actually recognize who Adam Hall is because you may be known as either a different brand or a different part of the community. So I wanted to give you a chance really off the start, because you guys have the opportunity to live in both of the communities. Tell us a little bit more about who Adam Hall is. Obviously a global company, but who is Adam Hall and who are some of the folks that you guys typically represent from a brand portfolio standpoint?
Great, thank you. Yes, definitely, you're right. So Adam Hall is a company that was founded in 1975, so almost 45 years ago in Germany. And since then, we are a manufacturer and a wholesaler of pro audio equipment and music equipment. Our most renowned brand, I would say today, is LD Systems, which is our pro audio brand. And so many people might know very well the LD Systems brand, but they don't know that it's the manufacturer behind the LD Systems brand is Adam Hall. Again, we started like 45 years ago developing products and selling products to the pro audio, retail, and music industry. And since then, we've developed a few brands. So like I said, one of them is LD Systems, which is quite known already across the world, I would say. We started here in America 5 years ago, and the brand has been growing quite nicely. But we also have other brands like maybe Gravity stands that maybe people are familiar, because also it's becoming a quite known brand. We developed also, these are music stands for all kind of applications, for musicians, for pro audio companies, for lighting companies, for content creators as well. So all kind of stands under the brand of Gravity. Then also another brand which is quite old in our portfolio is Palmer Audio Tools. We develop all kind of tools like DI boxes, line isolators. All these products are developed in Germany, in our headquarters in Germany. We have a pretty big team and a growing team of audio engineers, R&D team, software engineers, mechanical engineers. So everything is developed in-house. Yeah. And then, so these are, I would say, the main brands. We have other brands, but I would say for the pro audio and the AV integration, I would say these are the most important that we are developing.
I love to hear it, because as you're talking about some of these different brands and even some of the offerings within some of the brands, I love hearing just how different things are, right? Everything from kind of the traditional pro audio side of things with LD all the way to building stands and clamps and all sorts of different things.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you're such a perfect guest for the conversation today. And I want to start off with this. So a lot of folks maybe on the traditional B2B side of things, the traditional kind of pro AV installed technology side of the world, are very familiar with the speccing process, custom bids, the specification world. But one of the challenges when you look at the world of pro audio that there has to be a crossover on is that those sure, it's nice to have that one channel on the B2B side, but there's so many different channels, whether it's retail, whether it's e-commerce, so many different places. What are some of the common channels in the pro audio market that exist even beyond a lot of the traditional kind of speccing process and integration sales cycles?
I think we share, like you said, many channels, right? I would say the most common and more important channels for us right now here in America is a retail channel. The retail channel, like the traditional store where you're going to find all your music equipment, but also online. And then this channel, to be honest, has evolved a lot in the last year. So originally, these retail stores will sell only to musicians, bands, DJs. But now you find out that many of those stores, they also have like a professional department where they're going to do installs, they're going to do projects, maybe not very big project, but small projects, local, in their town or in their state, that they're going to offer solutions also for integrators where, they can provide with the pro audio equipment. So that would be, this is a traditional channel for the retail channel. But of course, on the pro audio, we have, the rental, the event production companies, the house of worship, the AV integrators, the wholesalers, right? So I would say these are the channels that we are sharing, together with the AV integration on the pro audio side of the products.
Well, and naturally, too, what diversified sales channels means is diversified buying profiles, right? Everything from the end user making the purchase or a technologist for a company or, even an event and rental and staging company. Who would you say are some of the target decision makers and buyer profiles, and how do those differ a little bit from maybe the traditional B2B side of things?
Yeah, so for example, again, if you go to the end user, right, the DJs and the musicians, so the way they make their decision, right? If you look at the customer journey, for example, if we want to look at how this, from the starting point, most of them, so first you start with a product needing, right? You need a professional need for a new audio equipment, right? And then, so you start researching online and reading reviews and see, a little bit of, okay, what kind of products are, what I can find that I need that can serve my needs, right? And then on these online searches, you're going to find a lot of YouTubers, influencers on the industry that are going to talk about the product. So, this is already one point where, it's going to influence the decision, on the people. And then today, I think many people are looking first, they start from a professional need. And then from that point, they start researching a little bit. And this is on the research, they're going to get the influence, which direction they're going to go, right? I don't know if this answers your question. I'm not sure if this was the question or...
It does. It really does. And I think you make a good point, right? And the cool thing about where we are in the world of B2B right now, and you and I had a chance to talk about this just a little bit before we started recording, is that the world of pro audio has been a really cool litmus test for what's going to eventually happen kind of in the normal B2B sales cycle. And you talked about that influencer content, whether it's unboxing, whether it's a dealer or distributor, like Sweetwater creating product reviews and training courses and things like that. That has kind of found its way to the world of B2B, and the pro audio community and obviously the B2C and retail world has massive influence on this as well, but really has led the charge on a lot of that. And I think that's where a lot of the crossover tends to happen, because you see fantastic brands, whether it's speaker manufacturers or gear manufacturers in the pro audio community that live in both worlds. And I think that's why we've seen a lot of these things happen. And I'm curious too, obviously Adam Hall is a global company. Do you see a lot of variance between maybe the US market prefers the thought leadership and the influencer things versus maybe the European or the APAC markets that might look for a little bit looking for something that's a little bit different? Do you see a lot of variance there?
Well, I think there used to be bigger differences between the US and Europe. I think now with the digitalized world, everything goes faster everywhere. I would say, based on my experience, I spent most of my career in Europe. I'm originally from Spain, and I was running the South Europe operations for 18 years. And then I moved here 5 years ago to the US. And although I knew already a little bit about the US market, but now living here in the US, and I see not only in our industry, but in general, how things are developing. I think, Yeah, definitely the US market is more, it's very much influenced on what's happening online, and then, on these different influencers' reviews. All this is really like a key, I would say, a component of your decision. In Europe, it's getting there, but I see, we're still a little bit here in the US, a little bit, above or upfront into this kind of decision making, right? Really based on the influencer. And we actually, for us, it's interesting that we are now using synergies between our marketing strategies here in the US and Europe. And we are taking some of the strategies that we are using here in the US to the European market. And it's actually working pretty well. But yeah, for example, I mean, this is actually, you mentioned, YouTubers, and we were talking about, the online and the decision. So one of our customers, for example, you were talking about the unboxing, right? And one of our customers, he took one of our products, he received a product, and he just did a TikTok video just unboxing this product, right? And that video got 1.3 million views in a week. And then, immediately then, of course, orders started to arrive from other people, and which, I mean, this is kind of really interesting in how the things are developing, right, in the world right now. Many in different industries, but also in the pro audio industry, for sure.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. And they're obviously, before people start yelling at me and saying, though it's different, there are two different worlds, two different challenges. I get it, right? There are some obvious and core differences. The sales cycle in B2B tends to be much longer. But what's cool about, you see the influencer type content in the world of B2C and a lot of the traditional retail that's found its way into kind of the professional side of the world. It exists a little bit more in subject matter expertise content and training content and industry specific content, where you take a lot of the concepts of influencer type content and marketing, right, which the pro audio world has done so well, especially the creator market, which is an entirely different conversation, but that world specifically has done such a fantastic job. But you take a lot of those concepts and apply them to whether it's marketing strategies or best practices in the B2B side of things. And it's crazy to see how people respond to that because they're so used to it in their normal lives. But one of the things that I want to ask about as well is the impact of trade shows, right? Obviously, we had a chance to connect at NAMM, which is a show really that bridges the gap, I would say, between a lot of the traditional pro audio brands and the more consumer-facing folks. How important would you say, especially for folks like you guys, how important are shows like that to reach both audiences simultaneously? And is it important to also segment into shows that verticalize specifically outside of that?
Yeah, of course. Especially I would say for the pro audio, it's very important. One of the key aspects and on the selling pro audio equipment is you're not selling just a product, you're selling emotions, you're selling an experience, right? And if you want really to people understanding what you're selling, you have to have a demo. You need to demo those products. People need to be in front of the product and listening to the product. Okay, so that you cannot do online. And of course, when we talk about these online influencers, TikTok, etc., this is just part of the marketing strategy.
Yeah.
We have a 360 degrees marketing strategy, and this is just a little part, but of course, a big chunk or a big part, and I would say the most important is to be able to be in front of a customer and making a demo of your product, making a sound demo of your product. So in that sense, shows are important, but also our experience, for example, at the NAMM show, and we've been at the NAMM show for many years. And the NAMM show, it's a very nice show, like, as you know, you've been there now, and you see it's very noisy. There is a lot of people walking around, a lot of artists, etc. So there's a lot of excitement everywhere. But if you want to do a demo of a product, especially a sound demo, it's very difficult if you are on the main floor. This is why we moved, a couple of years ago. And I don't know if I guess you went to the pro audio area where they have those demo rooms on the sides of the show where you can have really a demo, a sound demo, and in a closed environment, and then so you can have your customers there, and then you can do a really professional sound demonstration, right? So in this case, I would say the shows it's a good place to be. The NAMM show for us is now a good place to be because we can do these sound demonstrations. In our industry, like we said, for the pro audio industry, if you don't have this capability of doing a sound demonstration, then you only have the networking part of the show, right? Because, there's two parts, I would say. One is the networking, and the other part is for us doing the product demos. And then for networking, of course, it could be interesting, but then I would say you lose 50% of really what is the show about for us. So I would say, yes, the shows are important in our industry. I would say as long as you can have a good place to do a sound demo, and of course, it has to attract all kind of, people from the industry so you can network. Networking, of course, is very important because this is where you learn about new projects, you learn about new brands, you talk to customers, and this is a time where they start talking about, I'm doing this project and I have this customer there, I have these needs. And then also important to get the customer feedback in real time about what is working for them, what is not working, or is this product correct, or what can we improve in our product. So yes, I would say still for us it's important, but it's not only the trade shows. We do a lot of on-site demos. So we also go to the customer with our products and we do demos to them. Or we have also, and we are one of the few companies in our industry that we have 3 different showrooms around the world. We have one showroom in Germany, in Frankfurt. We have another showroom in Barcelona. And we have a showroom here in New Jersey. And we bring customers constantly to our showrooms to do sound demos. So trade shows are important, but it's not only it's part of the game. It's not the whole game.
Well, hey, look, I'll be the first to recommend Dallas as a spot you should build one. We've got quite a few demo rooms down here, just from everything from displays to lighting to all sorts of different places. I highly recommend it down here, but. I want to go back to what you said, and you talked about the importance of the demo, right? And obviously, to a show like NAMM, the audience varies pretty dramatically, right? But I think that's why shows like Infocom and pro shows in the B2B world are so important, right? Because it gives you, they are a little bit more focused on the transactional channel sales side, but it actually puts decision makers in your demo room, right? And It's not always hobbyists. It's not people who we call here in the States tire kickers, right? You get qualified leads and you get qualified folks inside the demo rooms. And I think that makes sense, right? Why you go to both of those shows, because those audiences differ pretty dramatically. And I want to ask too, kind of is the last question here, what are some of the things that you see, maybe whether it's at shows like NAMM or even just some best practices in the retail channels and things like that? What are some of the things that you would like to see more implemented in the traditional AV, whether it's sales channel, buying process, things like that? What are some of the things you wish you could see there?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know what to say, to be honest. I think that they live in a different, it's a little bit different, that the approach from the AV industry in terms of, one of the things also, for example, which I think we are getting there. And then I would say this is, I think, something that we learned probably from the AV industry in when we sell to the retail, is the educational part of it, right? So and this is, I think, it's also another part of this, strategies that we use to reach customers. We need to educate the customer, right? So the education is becoming more and more important, and especially because the products, the pro audio in general, are becoming more technical, advanced, and there is more technology behind. So we need to educate the customers. And I think, we've been learning, we've been doing the ISE also for many years. Since it started in Europe. And we saw that, in the AV industry, there is a lot of education and a lot of training on this sense. And we learned from that also to apply this into the traditional B2B, channel. I would say this will be one thing we used from the AV to the traditional B2B channel or retail channel. I would say maybe on the other side, from learning from the B2B, I would say maybe like we said before, a little bit more the digital strategies, some more digital marketing strategies, that the decision is still very traditional, right? And not so much, going into the digital part. So maybe that's where something needs to, I would say it will improve. I'm sure this will change in the next years for sure.
Well, look, Gabriel, that's the reason that you and I are having this conversation, right? To help teach and educate people. And I appreciate you really sharing your thoughts. And I know that even though there's some dramatic differences between some of the core channels, there's a lot of crossover, right? And I appreciate you sharing kind of that context on some of the ways that you've seen success at the Adam Hall Group and some of the ways really that you hope to see the channels evolve in the future. Look, we've got to find a way to get you back on the show in the future. Your insight is really, really helpful, especially talking about some of those different verticals. But we appreciate you coming on the show today and look forward to having you back on soon.
Okay, great. Ben, thank you very much for your time, and it's very nice to be here with you.
Well, thank you. And also thank you to the listeners. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Pro AV today. We hope to see you again soon. Be sure to like and subscribe and check us out next time.